the talk of Alex Pereira versus Jon Jones. I mean, it's begun. It's begun. Glover comes out, says that Pereira might go up to heavyweight. Then you got people like me saying, well, he is 6'4". Yeah, he could go to heavyweight. Now you got Robert Whittaker weighing in. Robert Whittaker's opinion matters more than most for a couple of reasons. First off, Robert Whittaker is amongst the greatest fighters to ever do this sport. Any weight class, any way you want to do it. The other thing is Robert Whittaker is quite possibly the number one contender for Pereira's championship. More than quite possibly. If Pereira is to beat Adesanya, I would predict for you that Robert Whittaker goes in next with Pereira. So for Robert Whittaker to weigh in on this and say, yeah, I think Pereira is going to change the weight, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because he risks the backlash of, yeah, I'm sure that's just what you want because you don't want to fight him. That's not what that was. That was just Whittaker giving a fair analysis. I just share for you that Glover set something down 2 days ago. I jump all over it yesterday, as did Ariel Helwani, and now you've got a future Hall of Famer in the division co-signing the idea and saying it's a good one. Okay. I mean, this is how these things happen. This is how you bring them to the public and you get some feedback, and then you put on a little childish smile like, yeah, I was just kidding, I knew that. Or you start to kind of buckle in and start to get a little more serious about things. The problem with, so that you understand, right, it is not a welcomed idea. It's more welcome now than it was a decade ago, which was absolutely zero. But it's still not a welcomed idea to let guys go for champ status. It's not a welcomed idea to let a guy move up a division and fight for your belt. And I know that we've seen it, but there's been some real exceptions. Even taking Jon Jones from 205 and putting him at 265. Because it was Jon Jones. Like, that's not a formula that you're going to see very often. But it's Jon Jones. We understand. It's Jon Jones. I want you to understand. I want you to know why this is happening, though, because perception is reality. And nothing is more true that perception is reality than this sport. The sport of combat. If I was to ask you guys who is the greatest boxer of all time, the correct answer that you should say, because you don't know boxing. I'm not looking to condescend. You don't know boxing. The correct answer is, hey, man, I couldn't tell you the top 10 boxing. I don't follow boxing. I love it. I respect it. When there's a big fight, I don't know. That would be the correct answer, but that's not what any of you would say. You would all give your list. Now, once you do that list, all that you would have done for me, if I had the greatest boxers of all time, all you would have done for me is a popularity contest. That's what your list would have been. You would not know their skills. You wouldn't be able to juxtapose. You wouldn't know their resumes. You wouldn't know how they did through the Golden Gloves and World Championships. They tried to make U.S. Olympic team. If they didn't make the team, how they do, who they have in the first round, second round. You don't know anything about it. I mean, unless your name is Teddy Atlas or Max Kellerman, truly, you don't know boxing. It's all an act. And I only bring that to you because it spills over to our sport. We're guilty of it too. Who's the greatest fighter of all time? Who is the most popular fighter of all time? It's the exact same thing. Perception is reality. And I'll tell you today, they made a real big mistake. They put Roy Jones in there with John Ruiz. Ruiz was a heavyweight champion. Roy Jones was anything but a heavyweight, but he damn sure was a champion. And Roy went out there and he destroyed him. But do you know what that's a problem? There is a built-in belief. If you've got three champions, one's at 185 pounds, one's at 205 pounds, one's at heavyweight. They're all champions. There is a built-in belief. The heavyweight is the baddest dude, the light heavyweight is the second, and the middleweight is the third. That perception has to live. It has to. Which is why it's a problem when you take a Roy Jones and you put him in there with a Ruiz and the whole world sees, oh my God, we've been told size is an advantage and we've been told all of these things and none of them are true. It will then make you look at the heavyweight class differently moving forward. And you don't want to do that. You can't make any money doing that. So there's no reason to tarnish an entire division. There's no reason to do it. There's no benefit. So this is why you can't just take an Alex Pereira and slide him up 205 pounds. They're talking about heavyweight. You just can't really slide him up. You want to resist that. You want to push back. You want to keep him in his division. if you do slide him up and you put him into a world championship opportunity and he goes and he gets it, he dominates it. He's going to ride off into the sunset and retire soon enough. The guy's 35 years old. I mean, I just share this with you. So then you are, when he's gone, now you're left. You're going to have a 205-pound champion. You're going to have an 85-pound champion. But now you're going to have a discussion that maybe the 85-pound champion is better than the 205-pound champion. It just becomes a problem. And so if you moved him up 2 divisions, you put him at heavyweight, Pierre goes out there and wins the strap, but he's going to change perception forevermore. You're going to have every string being at 185 that doesn't want to cut weight anymore, going up to heavyweight. And I'm just sharing with you, even if you don't see that as the world's biggest issue to deal with, that is what the issue. Moving guys up and then them having a level of success changes perception forevermore. I mean, forevermore, it doesn't go away. What would happen, by the way, if Pierre went up to heavyweight? We, of course, we're talking about Pierre versus Jon Jones. Now, this is silly, right? We're just having fun. This is silly. Robert Whittaker gave his answer, though. And you want to know what he said? He said, Pierre can't wrestle with Jon Jones. He said it in some different words. He said, Pierre can't wrestle with Jon Jones. Pierre has never had a wrestling match. Jon Jones was the national champion of wrestling. I get Whittaker's point, and so do you. But isn't that a misunderstanding of Jon? I mean, aren't you a little bit disrespectful towards Jon if you say that? Because in Jon's most recent fight, where he had a decorated professional kickboxer, Jon never tried to take him down once. And I know your line memories tell you Jon took him down right away. That's your line memory. Jon never tried to take him down once. That takedown that Jon got, no one was more surprised that worked than Jon. He didn't put an effort into that. I'm just sharing for you. Jon was pushing the pace. Jon was walking forward. You had Surreal running away from Jon. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. A heavyweight should not even care if he's hit by a light heavyweight. I mean, just for all, you can roll. I'm not saying you take it flush, but he shouldn't even care. He should never step back. I'm not attempting to adjudicate or give Surreal a hard time. I'm attempting to point out how he was frightened and how he ran, and you're going to have no chance with Jon doing that. The best opportunity Surreal had was on his feet, and he had no confidence there. He literally ran from those positions. But Jon stayed there. I got to point that out because you're acting as though Jon's just going to come out and tackle somebody. Jon's going to do whatever's the most risky. Whatever is the most risky, where he can get a little bit of bounce, is what he's going to do. He's going to go out and he's going to trade with Pierre. I'm just letting you know. He will eventually, once he finds success, once he drinks from that well, however, wherever his quench of his thirst is, sure, he will go to wrestling. I understand that. But how long do you need? I'm just bringing this to you. It's not as though these guys are going to fight. I'm just bringing this to you. How long do you need? And Pierre just doesn't strike me as the guy that's going to run away. He's frightened. Perhaps he will. He's so worried about the wrestling, perhaps he will. But it's a very interesting comparison. And Jon needs things like this. Jon himself will be irritated if this keeps up. This will irritate him. But that's only because he doesn't understand. It's very hard to get anything going with Jon. I mean, guys are truly terrified of him. So if you have somebody that's got a level of protection, even if that level of protection is 2 weight divisions and a promoter that won't make the fight, he still has a level of protection, which means he will find the courage and come after Jon, and that's helpful. It's a very helpful thing. The fact that Robert Whittaker, a future Hall of Famer, possibly the #1 contender right now, chose to do his airtime with media yesterday about Jon, even if it's a mythical match against Pierre, that's interesting stuff. It really is. And there's something else going on with our sport. I mean, there's a real phenomenon. Jon Jones, and this also came up from Whittaker. Stay with me. Jon Jones went from the youngest champion in UFC history to the oldest contender that the company had at the time he was the contender, right? A lot of words on that. I'm just sharing with you, right? Time goes by. 35 years old. 35 becomes the oldest contender of anyone who was getting a world title fight. Puts on the most dominant performance. And I started looking at Pierre. I looked at Pierre because Whittaker brought this up. Pierre's age, 35 years old. And Whittaker just said, look, he's having a hard time now. As he gets older, that cut doesn't get any easier. But Whitaker's right. Pereira needs to be a 205-pounder. That's true. And sooner rather than later. If he's good enough to win it there, he should get his credit. Because you get more credit at 205 than you do at 185. Now, why is that? Why is the sport going there? And it just changes with time. It just does. I follow wrestling really close, but there was a time, man, 21 to 23. You wanted a world or Olympic medal, 21 to 23. But then over time, it became 27, 29. And that's just interesting me. And that's got to be a good sign for human beings. It's got to be a good sign of science, food, sleep, training methods. 1992, Barcelona was the Olympic Games. There was a wrestler named Chris Campbell. Chris Campbell made the team at 36 years old, and they called him Grandpa. They called him Grandpa. All of the fellow athletes, like not just the wrestlers, the track and field, they all referred to him as Grandpa. He was so old. Dara Torres had to go and do special drug testing because she was 42 and put some of her best times in the pool in. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. Now you got 35-year-olds. We got two 35-year-olds that are champion of the world. That is stunning news. Randy Couture made national news at 34. 34 years old, he had his first MMA fight. He had two in one night. It was a tournament. He wins the whole thing. They call him a natural. Hey, this guy's a natural. Big deal. That was 34. That's younger than we got two champions. They're 35. I think that's interesting. I think that's probably a good sign. I think that we're starting to learn things. I think that will inspire next generations to stay in there and go a little bit longer. And world's not over as you approach that big 4-0. Just an observation.